Good evening, everyone, once again. I'm very grateful. I'm very happy to have everybody on board. And today we'll be learning syntax in Java. And it is very, very important that they are very, very important as beginners that we take note of all these. So, the syntax of Java refers to the set of rules defining how a Java program is written and interpreted. The syntax of Java refers to the set of rules defining how Java program is written and interpreted. To every languages, there are diverse programming languages. We have the JavaScript, we have the C Sharp, we have the C, we have the JavaScript, we have Python, and a whole lot more. There are ways, there are naming conventions, and each language has ways by which we declare them, by which we write them. As we know that every language of the world, be it English, be it Spanish, be it French, they have the specific ways of writing and speaking them. So also is programming language. Now, today, looking at the example below, looking at my red word here is an example of a class in Java. And our class we always start with a capital M, a capital letter for the first letter. I repeat, a class, every of our code, everything that we'll be writing will always be in a class. Will always be in a class. And this public means access modifier. Access modifier can either be public, they can be private, they can be protected. This is just telling us who and their accessibility from the word modifier, access, who can access it. So this public means that everyone can access it. If I go ahead to put private now, it is only limited to this class. I cannot use it outside this class. That is for private. And like I said, this is the name of my class. You can see public class main. This is the name of my class. And the first letter starts with capital. It is very, very important for us to understand that Java, they are case sensitive. Every class must start, the first letter of every class starts with capital letter. Capital letter. And every statement we'll be writing in Java must end with semicolon, else there will be syntax error. Syntax error refers to when we are violating, means when we are violating the normal rules that is being set, that is being put in place for us to have our to have our to have our program written. Now, let me expatiate further by saying every line of code that runs in Java must be a class. Every line of code that runs in Java must be in a class. This is a necessity. And I said this is how we declare our class, public class, and the name. This represents the modifier, the access modifier, why our class, and we have the name of this class, which is main. It can be anything. I can decide to put car. That's the name. So I can decide to change this to moving. So what I'm saying in essence, that the name of this class is car, is a car class. This is a car class. And this, what is inside it From where this curly braces, this is known to be curly braces. This is the beginning of my class and this ends it. So whatever thing, this is a method. This is a public static. Void, void means it is not returning anything. So whenever we are putting, we are still getting to that. If I'm putting any data type, that means it will return something. But yeah, I'm stating authoritatively that this automatically means that whatever that it is inside here will execute, will run. That is the meaning, will run. Now let's go further. And I believe as we are going further, we'll have basic understanding about it. Now, like I said, Java is case sensitive. The name of Java file must match. It must match the class name. The name we are giving Java must match the class name. So, what do I mean? What I'm saying in essence is that now, whatever thing we are writing, the name that will be given must always match the class name. This is my class name. So if I'm writing, let me open my code so that we'll see what I'm talking about. I'll be back. Now I'm trying to open my code base so that we can have the practical understanding of all I've been saying so far. Now, looking at this code now, the name of this class is complex. The name of this class is complex. The name of, and when you can see here on my left hand side, this class is also what? Complex. At the top of this bar, we can see complex.java. So it must always bear the same name as my class name. So the name I am naming this file must be the same name as my class name. Let me show another example. Okay. This is a class that I name player. And here we can see this is player.java. It must correspond. If I decide to change it now to, let me say person, there will be an error. We can see this is throwing red. We can see it's telling me 13 related problems. So our class name must be the same that we are giving our file name. They must always be the same. They must always be the same. So let's go further. The name of the Java file must match the class name. Like I said, this is the class name. This is the class name, and it must match the file. This is the file here. So it must match. If it doesn't match, it will throw an error. It will throw an error. It will throw an error. So I'm changing it back. We can see the error has gone. Those error has gone. So the name, this is telling us that the name of the Java file must match the class name. When saving the file, save it using the class name and add.java. As we can see in this my code base, we can see up here .java. Every one of them has .java. This is .java here. This is .java. Player.java, main.java, and I have my complex.java. To every class name, to every file that will be saving, they must end with .java. else we are going to have syntax error. That means that we are violating the standard that Java has set for us to follow. The main method is required, and you will see it in every Java program. Any code inside the main will execute. Now let's go back to this. This refers to the class that I declared. And don't forget that if I'm saving this, I'm going to save it in car.java. If I'm saving this, I'm saving it with car.java. Now also, this inside it we have, and this is my method. This method is telling me that whatever that is that precedes this method, we execute, we run. So if I'm in my ID and I run this, so it will output to me moving. Because I'm telling it that this is an inbuilt function in Java. I'm telling it that output, this out, it is the short name for output. And this means print new line. That this thing will always be in new line. And don't forget, whenever we are writing inside it, it must start with a double quote and it must end with double quote, except we are calling a variable. We are still getting to that. Now, system out.in, system is a inbuilt Java class that contains useful members. So what I'm saying in essence is that this alone that we're having this is an inbuilt. Java owns it. It is follow-come for Java. It is not me that made it. It is follow-come in Java, not me that made this. So whenever we are trying, whenever we are working, whenever we want to output anything, it is a necessity for us to end it with this, and whatever parameters, whatever argument we are supplying, I will explain every keyword as we proceed. Now, system is a built-in Java class that contains useful members, such as out, which is short for output. Out means output. The print line method, short for, it means print line, is used to print a value like we are seeing now. The value we are trying to print here is moving. This is don't forget, system is an inbuilt. It is an inbuilt in Java. And this is a short abbreviation for output. We are trying to say output this value in a new line. And this method makes it executable. It makes it to run. And everything is what is inside the class. It is inside the car class. Now, going further, I want to explain what is Java comments. Comments are lines. This is an example of comments that is in red color. Comments can be used to explain Java code and to make it more readable. It can also be used to prevent execution when testing alternative code. Whenever we are putting comments to our code, that means we are telling it that Java should ignore it. It will ignore that line of code. Let me go back to my code base and explain further. Now, if I'm here now, in this my class, customer registration response. Now I'm having, this is my instance variable. If I decide to use control \, all I'm telling this is that we can see that this has changed color. It has turned to a gray color. This color is different from this color now. So I am telling authoritatively that when Java is running this code, it should ignore this line 7. So this line 7 will be ignored. We can see we're having a double backslash here. That is an example of comment. We are telling our Java whenever it is running, it should what? It should ignore it. Let me do that again. But we can see backslash. We can just enter backslash. We can enter it twice. It will give us the comments. And we can see here that the color has changed. The color we are having on this line 8 is different from the color we are having on line 7. So line 7 is telling us that this line 7 has been commented out. That means when Java is running this program, it will definitely ignore this line 7. Okay, let's go back to code. Now, so this line system out dot print new line, this will not run, this will not execute because I have put my inline here. So this is telling me that Java, please ignore this new line. So I am telling Java to ignore this by putting double backslash. This is single line comment. We also have what is called multi-line comment. A multi-line comment is this. This is an example of multi-line, okay, multi-line comment. We can have whatever thing we want to write here, the programming. We can simply write programming is fun. So we can end it by saying this. This is an example of multi-line comments. Multi-line comments. It's telling us that we can write as many words inside here as long as they belong to this inside this. It will the Java compiler will always ignore this line of code. Regardless of how many lines they are, it will always be ignored by Java. Now, let's go to Java variables. Variables are containers for storing data values. Variables are containers for storing data values. Now, I will give a typical example, which is our pockets or our wallets. Our wallets store a lot of cash. We can use our wallet to store our money, currency notes, while our pockets can store our phone, can store pen, can store anything. So now our pocket is serving as a variable, while whatever thing that we put inside our pocket, they are known as values. Variable in Java is a data container that serves the data value during Java program execution. Every variable is assigned a data type that designates the type and quantity of value it can hold. A variable is a memory location name for the data. Now, I will explain this more further. Now, looking at this example that I've written, now, string is a data type. This is an example of data type. Don't worry, just relax. Don't be impatient. I will go over it, the data type, step by step and to our own understanding. Now, strings are known to be what? They are example of non-primitive data type. While name is my variable. This variable name houses this word, this string literals. String literals is any word that starts with double quotes and end with quotes. This is strings literal. So I'm saying that tech for all is a value that is being stored a name. We also have ints, which is a short abbreviation for integer. The integer can only store numbers, and integers can only store whole number. They can store 1, they can store 2, but they cannot store anything that has decimal. If I try to put 0.0, it will, the Java will say it is an error. And don't forget that to every of my statements, it ends with semicolon. We can see semicolon. That means it's telling me that that is the end of the line. Semicolons is telling us that this is the end of the line. And it is very, very important when we are declaring our variable that it is recommended to use descriptive name. Now here, I use number. So it is well understood to anybody that I'm being explicit here that the name I'm giving it number, we can see that it is number. It is not that I will give number and I will be writing something different. Oh, yeah, I will write Y. What does Y mean? Y is not explicit enough. It is not explaining anything. It is not explaining things enough. So let me return it by saying number. So our own number do not take, when we are declaring our own number, the value, we will never put a double quote. We will not put quotes. If we do that, it will throw an error. So I'm telling us some of the errors we might encounter. So if I'm saying this I'm referring to strings, because strings are the ones that always take double quotes. It is only strings that are written in double quotes. But one, we can see it's throwing error already. It is throwing error. We can see red here because it doesn't allow quotes. It will never allow any double quotes for integer. Integers are known to be numbers. Integers are known to be whole numbers. Whole number. They don't have decimal points. They are whole numbers. While strings, they are always, we put them in double quotes. And don't forget that every of our statements must end with semicolon. And when we are declaring our variable, they must be descriptive enough to tell even the novice that doesn't know anything about computer what we are trying to refer to. Here I'm saying this is a name, and it is explicit enough to tell us that I am trying to do what? I'm trying to write, I'm trying to say something. I'm trying to write a name. And like I said, this string, int, and this boolean, they are known to be data type. And boolean takes only two things. It can take either true or false. The value of boolean, don't forget, on my left hand side, I am having the data type and I'm having my variable. And on my right hand side, I am having the values. These are the values. Here are the values. Why this is the data type and these are the variables. So like as I was saying, booleans can only take true or false. So anything aside true, you can either take true or false. It can never take anything aside this. Same as our ints. Ints can only take whole numbers. While string we can denote string by putting them in double quotes. Let's go further. Naming conventions. These are the set of rules that governs the way we write our variables. The general rules for naming variable are: names can contain letters. As we've done here, we can say name can always contain letters. How do I mean? All I'm saying that it can contain, a name can contain letter like A. A variable can contain letter, it can contain digit, it can contain an underscore, it can contain a dollar sign, it can contain a dollar sign, but we must not. It is highly illegal to start a variable name, to start to start a variable name using something that doesn't we cannot start a variable name with with anything aside all these things that I've mentioned. We cannot start a variable name with hyphen. For example, we cannot start a variable name with hyphen. It is highly impossible to start a variable name with hyphen, but it will always contain, we can start our variable name with letters, digits, underscore, dollar sign. Names must begin with a letter. It must always begin with a letter. Name should start with a lowercase. Don't forget, anytime we are trying to, whenever we are trying to start with capital, we are saying that it is no longer a variable name, but we are referring to it as a class. So our variable must start with a lowercase. Lowercase means small letters and do not contain white spaces. We cannot say a variable name, we cannot say variable name should be tech space all equals no. This will throw a syntax error. This will result in syntax error. So when we are naming it, if we want to name our variable after declaring string, we can say tech for all. It takes a digit and it can take letter. We can decide to put a dollar sign too. It will take it. Equals. Now, don't forget it is a string. It must start with a double quote and we must end it with a double quote. So in between it is where we write Java class. Now we can, in our string now, it can take a white space. This is what is called a white space. But when we are declaring a variable, we don't put a white space. I hope we've seen the difference between the two. Now let's go ahead. Names, like I said earlier on, can begin with dollar sign. We can start something like, okay, string dollar sign name. We can start something like this and give it Java. We can say something like this. It also work. But like I said, it is appropriate and it is best when we are naming our variable must always be descriptive so that other people will what, our code will not be hard to read. It must be easy to read. Also, we talk about case sensitive. And here, case sensitive, we can see this first word, this is first word mine. This one start with the lowercase or small letter, while this one start with a capital letter. So it makes it more readable and it makes sense when we are writing. Not that we will just jam pack it together. This one is telling us my variable, but this we cannot. It's so hard to read this. Example, if you want to do something like my computer, writing this way, we might not fully comprehend it, but we can decide to say my computer, my computer. This is more readable. This is more readable. And also, there are keywords in Java that we don't use. An example of them is these are keywords. They are reserved word that is in Java. These are reserved word that is in Java. We can have as many as possible. Let's go online and see some of the example. Some of the example. Java keyword. So Java has over 50 keywords, and these are example of the Java keyword. We have continue, we have enum, we have for, we have instance of, we have ints, like we have import, we have float. We cannot use it to name our variable. These are forbidden. We cannot use these to name our variable. So whenever we are naming our variable, we cannot use all of this. We cannot use all of this. Okay. I hope we are getting it. If there is a question, please kindly reach out to me. Now, data type. Don't forget, I talked about data type and I said that string, int, boolean, they are example of data type. Now let's go and look at what is data type. So data type are divided into two. We have the primitive data type. That is, they are like, they are follow comes. They are follow come. They only have size and value. Primitives, they have size and value. They are up to 8. They are like 8. They are follow comes. They are data types that we have in Java. And int stand for integer. This one takes whole number. Like we have, and the non-primitive data type, they are also known as reference type, and we can also refer to them as objects. Objects, how do I mean? Computer, my laptop is an object and it has a name. It has what? It has specification, it has resolution. So also, any object, they have instance variables. It's that their instance variables means they all have method and attribute. So when we are talking about the non-primitive type, they are objects. Basically, non-primitive type are objects, and they have methods, they have behaviors. Individuals, we are objects. And one of my behavior is that I can talk, I can give lecture, I can eat, I can smile. And what are my attributes? My attributes are things that are peculiar to me. That is why when we are yeah, I am saying something about my the data type. I said data type, they are of two types. We have the primitive data type. An example of primitive data type, we have the bytes, we have the short, we have the ints, we have the long, we have the floats, we have the double, we have the boolean, and we have the char. Char can only take a single character. Don't forget, char can only take a single character. How do I mean? I mean, A is a single character. So char can only take a single character. My Boolean can only take true or false. Nothing more. Why float, they are decimal. Double also, they are decimal. But what is the difference between it? You'll be wondering, like I said, float is, they are decimal, and double is also decimal. Now, we'll be going over it bit by bit. Non-primitives type, they are known to be reference type. They are objects. Like I said, every object, they have their attributes and they have behaviors. Human, me personally as a tutor, I am an object because I have method. And one of my method is that I can talk, I can eat. And my attribute refers to my name, which is peculiar to me. My age, my state of origin, they are known to be my what? They are known to be my attribute. They are known to be my attribute. Also, I have my the primitive, like I said, they only have values and size. They only have values and size. Now let's go over example of primitive type. We have the byte. 1 byte stores whole number from minus negative 128 to 127. This is the value. Don't forget, I said primitive type, they have size and value. So the value of a byte is minus 128 to 127. Also, we have short. Short store whole numbers, and it store whole number from minus 32,768 minus 32,768 to 32,767. Don't forget, we'll see the difference, which is the negative to the positive, from negative to the positive. Int is 4 bytes. Int is 4 bytes. And don't forget, yesterday, while we are discussing, I said that 1 bit equals to 8 bytes. 1 bit equals to 8 bytes. And the value of int is minus 2,174,483,648 to this. These are the value of our integer. Don't forget, these are examples of primitive types. Now, let's continue. Long is bigger. They are also whole numbers, but long has a value that is bigger than integer. So long is bigger than integer. When we want to input a larger value that int cannot accommodate, we either use long. But when we are specifying our long, for example, if I'm specifying long, it will be if I'm saying, okay, let me give an example. I'm saying I want to declare long. I'm saying long number. If it is a very large number, I've input my number like this. So I will end it with L, capital L. This is telling me that it is of data type long. Do we get that? Okay, let's proceed. Why floats? Floats are decimal. Whenever you see floats, they are decimal. So all they can store is they cannot store more than 7 digits. Let me give an example. So floats, we have something like 6.7 this, let's say. So whenever it exits, let's count after our point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This can never. So our float can never take this number. No, 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 they cannot. So they can, the maximum precision, the maximum decimal they can take is 6 to 7. When it exits 6 to 7, they are no longer a float, they've turned to double, because double can take more than, from, it can take up to 15. Up to 15. And don't forget our Boolean. Boolean can only take either true or false. It's just like saying yes or no. So it can only take true or false values. We also have char. I've talked about char before, which are single letter. A, B, C. The example of what Boolean can take. Let's proceed. Now, let's look at a typical Java development environment. Now, we have 5 phases, and the first phase is creating a program. Now, we can use our editor. Let me share you one on my system. Let me share you one on my system. Let me go to documents. 1 minute, please. Okay, documents. Yes. Yes. Now, Notepad. Okay. This is an example of a Java program that I wrote. Don't forget, like I said, this public is an access modifier, and our class, the first letter will always be in capital. And this, the first curly brace to the end of the curly brace is telling us that this is the beginning and this is the end. And everything that is inside here, these are method. You can see this is a first method. This is another method. This is another method. How do we differentiate method from class? Our method are always in small letter, and they always have a return type. Don't forget, we just spoke about return type. And int, which is telling us about integer, is telling us that this method will return an integer, right? Good. This will return an integer. So the difference between a class do not have a return type. When we are working on classes, they do not have a return type. So let's go back to, okay. Now, the first phase is that creating a program. What you just saw me doing is that I have gone ahead to create a program. Like, phase 1 consists of editing a file. And like I said, the file that I just showed you now, this one in my notepad, must have the same name as my class name. We can see the name is calculation and my class name is calculation. If it is different, it will never compile. It will never compile. So my class name and my file name must always be the same thing. They must always be the same thing. Okay, let's go ahead. Now, phase 1 consists of editing a file with an editor program, normally known as editor. Like I just showed us, I use my notepad to edit the code, and every file must end with java.java. So let me show you again. They must always end with .java. So cmd, let me go to my cmd. Okay, let me cd into my documents because it is in the document. Okay, DR, I want to show us the list of what is there. Okay, let me cd to class stuff. Yes, I'm inside my class stuff. That is where I have the code. Okay, yeah, this is telling me everything that is in there. Now, looking at these my code base, we can see that the calculation I just showed us must end with .java. Can we see? .java. .java. We are still coming back to this class, so don't get yourself worked up. We are still coming back to. Now we can see acceleration. This is a file. These are files. They must end with .java. I hope we get that. Okay. If you have any question, you can simply reach out to me. Okay, let's proceed. Now, the second phase. How do we get the second phase? That is compiling a Java program into bytes. And we can run this command by saying javac. That is Java compiler. So after we've created our program, after I've done something like this, this is where I've created the program. So if I want to run this program, so typically I will say, okay, I will say the name. So I will say javac. I will input javac. Yeah, javac. It is very, very important. It is very important. Let's go ahead. So let me briefly talk about the Java virtual machine. That is the JVM. It is a part of the JDK and the foundation of the Java platform because it is a virtual machine. It's a software application that stimulates a computer, but it hides in the underlying. It works under the operating systems. So it ensures that every of our code are execute. Don't forget, I said something while we are starting that computer, our machine do not understand English language. But to every code that we are writing in English. And I'm telling us that our computer do not understand English. How does this happen? So there's what we called bytecode. So every of our code are being translated into bytecode. So from bytecode, they are being translated into a machine language. Don't forget that what the machine language that the computer understand, they are binary number, they are zeros and one. Now the third phase, that is the loading phase. The loading phase. The JVM places the program in memory to execute. Like I told you, if I didn't, it is the memory inside this computer that makes it easier for me to call this, to go and bring it back in documents, to locate this file. If not for the what? The memory helps to retain information. It helps to retain every data. Now, in Java, in this third phase, The JVM places the program in memory to execute it. This is known as the loading. We are loading it. The JVM class loader takes the .class file containing program bytecode and transform them to primary memory. Let me show you what I mean. Yes. Now, here you will see that we have acceleration.java and we have acceleration.class. After I have done my compilation, this is a loading phase where we see acceleration.class. It is known as the loading phase. It is known to be the loading phase. Thank you. Now, the fourth phase is the bytecode verification. In this phase 4, the classes are loaded. The bytecode verifier examine their bytecode to ensure they are valid. It ensures that we have not violated Java security restrictions. So this is just a way to checkmate that to everything we've written, they are in accordance to Java standard. And the last phase is execution, where the JVM execute the bytecode to perform program specified actions. Don't forget, I told us while we are starting the class that programs, they are set of instructions that are being executed by the computer. So while we are trying to input all these instructions, the JVM executes the Fs in the execution of all these programs. Now, I want to talk briefly about object technology. It is very, very important. But before I proceed, let me have a recap to those ones that are joining or anyone that do not understand or is finding it hard to grasp. Let me just have a recap. I started the class by saying that by introducing to us Java syntax. The syntax of Java refers to set of rules defining how a Java program is written and interpreted. These are the set of rules, the standard, the norms that we must follow, we must ensure, and this standard must not be violated. And one of these standards is that whenever we are declaring a class, the name of the class the first letter must be in capital. So if I decide to change this, so if I decide to change this into a small letter, I have automatically violated the law, the set of rules of Java. So when I'm declaring my class, the name must be in capital letter. And don't forget, the name must also be the same name as the file. If I'm saving this as a file, it must carry car too. And I told us that public, this public is an access modifier. And I told us is an example, public is an example of access modifier. We have private, we have protected, and we have public. Public means it is accessible to everybody. Everybody can access it, even outside this class. But private can only be used within this class.
there are restrictions. You cannot call it, you cannot make use of it in other classes except in this single class. Now, I talked about the public static. Void means that this is not returning anything to us. That this method, this is an example of method. And I told us that method, they always have a return type. It can be of ints. It can be of Boolean. But they don't what? They must always have a return type. And the name is always in the first name is small letters. Why the system outprint? This is system, like I said, is an inbuilt function in Java. Why out is an abbreviation for output, that we want to ship something out to everything. But don't forget that this public static void main ensure that the code, this code, they do what? They run, they execute. And this value is what we want to see. Our car should what? To move. And don't forget, to every statement that we declare in Java, they must. It is a necessity. It is a must that they end with semicolon. Thank you. So, and I talked about comments that they are not executable, they are not run. Whenever I declare, whenever, like these lines now, whenever I declare a comment to a line, to a statement, they will never run. The Java compiler will automatically ignore it. It will get ignored. Also, we have multi-line comments. That means on different line, it starts with a backslash and an asterisk, and it ends with asterisk backslash. So you can have your numerous words here. Maybe I want to define what I'm doing. Programming is fun, as you can see. So if the shortcut is control backslash, I've already written this. That is using control plus backslash. Okay. Now, I talked about Java variable to us, and I said that Java variables are containers for storing data values. And I made an illustration using our pockets or wallet. Pockets can be a container, and inside our pocket, we can have our phone, we can have our money, we can have pen, we can have so diverse things. So those things that I mentioned now, they are values. They are values. Variable in Java is a data container that saves the data value during Java program execution. And I said it is highly recommended that our variable must be descriptive. It must make sense. Now, not that I want to declare an integer and I said int y equals 50. No, this doesn't, it's hard for an individual to understand. We cannot comprehend this. That is why we must always make it descriptive. And I said that when we are declaring an integer on this line, we can say that it doesn't have a double quote. No, we don't put it is strings. And I said double quotes are string literals. They are known to be what? String literals. So whatever that is inside the beginning and the ending of a double quote, they are known to be string literals. And I said the booleans can only take true or false. It's just like asking question. Like we can see on this line, boolean is on equals false. Boolean is on. We can say
equals true. So let's go ahead. And I talked about the naming convention, that you cannot start a variable. You cannot start naming a variable with hyphen. You cannot, or you cannot put a space. That is white space. You cannot put it. But our Java allow us, while declaring our variable, we can use letter, we can use digit, we can use underscore, we can use dollar sign. We can use dollar sign. Yeah. So let's proceed. Now, I talked about series of data type that we have. We have the primitive, which they have value and size. And the size for byte is 1 byte. The size for short is 2 bytes. The size for an int is 4 bytes. And the size for a float is 4 bytes too. The size for a double is 8 bytes. The size for Boolean is 1 bit. And we have char, it is 2 bytes also. Let's proceed. Now, I made mention of a typical Java development environment, which is creating a program, compiling a Java program into bytecode, loading a program into the memory. Also, we have the bytecode verification, and we have the last one, which is the execution. Now, let's go to briefly. We'll just highlight this. In our next class. We'll be talking holistically on the objects, because they are very, very important. Objects, anything that exists in the universe, they are objects. Almost all nouns that exist in this universe, they are known to be what? Objects. You and I, we are objects. An object, they have attributes. These are your identity, what we can use to identify them. Name, color, size, they are known to be attributes. And also behaviors. Communication, moving, calculating, dancing, singing, shouting, playing, they are behaviors that every object executes. So we have the date object, we have the time object, we have the audio object, the video object, automobile, and people object. Now let me use the class that we are talking about. I don't know, but have you all seen have we seen what is called uh, uh, architectural drawing plans, the building plan? So we can equate this as our class. A class is a blueprint of what you want to achieve. It is a blueprint. If you want to build a skyscraper now, so you first have it on the drawing. So this is the same thing. This is just a replica of our class. So it is from a class that we build, that we create an object. And the process of creating objects is known to be instantiation. 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 Okay. Zoom. Okay. Now, as I was saying, typically we have class, they are blueprints. They give us the understanding of what we want to achieve. If you want to build a house, a 3-bedroom bungalow, and we have it on a building plan. So basically, what we are saying is that the house we are building must have these features. It will have a 3 bedroom, sitting room, the dining, the corridor, and all that. So class, they are known to be a blueprint. They are known to be blueprints. Why we have in a class, in an object, we have method. Like I said, method are their operations, their behaviors, their behaviors. Why attributes, they are known to be instance variables. We use it to know, to know, to identify, to identify, to identify. So method basically perform task in a program. Don't forget, it is very, very important. They perform task. So whenever we are declaring a method, okay, this is a method here. This is a class. Don't forget, every method, everything we are doing must always be in a class. So to everything we are doing, to every program we are running, they are subset of a class. They must be in a class. Now, I said that when we are creating an object out of a class, it is known to be instantiation. Instantiation, don't forget. Now, this is public static void. Void means that this our method is not returning anything. But if I am to put ints here, so on my next line, I will, to everything I've written, it is a must for me to use a return keyword, that it must return, maybe it will return number. And in this brackets, this is where we put our parameters, that what we want them to do. That means this move must have a parameter. We can have a parameter of speed. And we want our car to move at so speed, right? Okay, let's move on. So we can say in the speed, we can say speed of 20, that we want it to be 20, like the speed should be 20. So what I'm saying, we can decide to either put um speed here. So here now, this is my parameter. I've declared that, oh, this is my method. I am going to put something, will perform something, will perform an action. That is what I'm saying with this my method. So I believe we have a very productive class, and next class it will be much more fun, and it will be very, very interactive as this. And if you have any question before the next class, you can always reach out to me on WhatsApp, on the group channel. Also, it is a must that you go through all we've discussed, so that they will be solidified. You have a concrete understanding of all that we've talked about. So I thank you for your apt attention, and do have a wonderful night rest.